Hey folks, so a lot of the criticism that I see towards Dragonflight is aimed specifically at dragon riding itself. A lot of people can't quite get the hang of it, they don't like the way it feels, they think it's too fast, etc. I just wanted to make a quick guide on how to dragon ride sort of efficiently, sort of easier, I suppose. Just kind of dispel a lot of the frustrations that people have with dragon riding. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. The first thing that I want to discuss is the glyphs. Um, you can check what glyphs or how many glyphs you have rather in the Dragon Isle summary right here. As you can see, I have them all unlocked, and it will actually tell you which ones you have collected, or sorry, not which ones rather, but how many you have collected in each zone. As you can see, I have 12 out of 12 in all of the zones. Um, my recommendation, if you haven't collected all of your dragon glyphs, is to go ahead and do that as soon as you possibly can. I recommend using an add-on like Handy Notes or TomTom to sort of find them all. If you are vehemently against add-ons, which is totally fine, then my recommendation would be to just fly around and take a good look for them. They're usually in high up places like I think there's one at the top of Valdrakken. There's definitely one up by that big owl statue in Onaran Plains. Um, you will know if you're close by a glyph because you'll actually get a chat indicator saying there's a dragon glyph nearby, and then you will also have a buff. I unfortunately can't show this off because I've collected them all, but you will have a buff that will say a dragon glyph is X amount of yards away, and then all you have to do is fly over to that dragon glyph. The buff will actually count down how close or how far you are, and you can kind of use that to gauge where exactly the glyph is. Again, it's easier to just use an add-on which will mark them on the map, but if you just don't want to use add-ons for whatever reason, that's totally fine. There is an alternate way to do it. Getting all of the dragon glyphs are going to give you a lot of different perks that will make dragon riding a lot easier. Some of the highlights is your increased vigor, so you have more points to fly with. Things generate more vigor as you're flying. Your vigor regenerated is accelerated to 1 vigor every 15 seconds while on the ground. So if you are on the ground, you'll get vigor back faster. Things like that. So that's the first thing I would recommend if you're struggling with this is to just find all of your glyphs. Now, obviously, finding glyphs is a little bit harder if you're struggling with dragon riding in the first place. So I will go over some stuff with that. Dragon riding has 4 major abilities right now. 3 are the ones that you're going to really use. The 4th is sort of situationally useful. The 4th one being the bronze time lock. That basically just puts a spot on the ground wherever you are, and then whenever you fly away from that spot, when you press that button again, it takes you right back down there. So, like I said, kind of situationally useful. The main one that is the most useful is going to be Skyward Ascent, and I will show that in just a second. But you also have Surge Forward, which just causes you to fly forward. And then, of course, Whirling Surge, which it says it greatly increases your speed, or you spiral forward a great distance, increasing speed. What this actually does is it makes you go up to your kind of max dragon riding speed from a stationary position while you're flying. So this can be useful if you're trying to fly somewhere over a long distance and you want to like get a lot of speed very quickly. It does cost more vigor than the rest. It costs 3 vigor, so that's something to keep in mind. But yes, Skyward Ascent is going to be sort of the major ability that you are going to get the most out of, and I will show you why. So I'm in Onaran Plains. This is sort of a flatter area of the map. I just wanted to start here so that you see that I'm not like jumping off of some giant cliff and then kind of using that to coast, which you absolutely can do. It makes it a lot easier. But I just wanted to prove that like this is possible even if you are on like the lowest part of the ground. And I mean, this is not technically the lowest. As you can see, there's like a whole river down there or whatever. But I'm, for all intents and purposes, I'm down, right? So, if I were gathering an ore or something over here, and then I wanted to get back up into the air, this is a good example of how I would do that. So, excuse me. So let's get started. whenever you start dragon riding, you are going to have to flap to get up into the air. That's a double tap on the space bar, or whichever button you have your jump bound to. And as you can see, I just kind of hop up, and I start at a very low speed, and then I can, I kind of coast back down. So the trick to it is to, instead of flapping once in the air, you flap twice, and I'll show that in just a second. So that will very quickly help you gain some altitude. Let me not pull this elite. So I flap once, and then I flap again, okay? And you can see as I flapped there the second time, I kind of pointed my camera towards the sky. That's going to help immensely in terms of gathering speed. See, the game doesn't necessarily understand gravity while you're flapping, so if you are pointed straight up, you will gain speed as if you were flapping straight up without slowing down. So the reason I'm pointing my camera up is so that my dragon is naturally flying straight up, right? So again, if I were to just like normally flap without any camera control, it would look like this. See? And that, it gets me pretty high up. It gets me to a decent kind of cruising speed. But what's going to happen is I'm going to slow down very quickly, and I'm also not going to have any upward momentum. So as you can see, like, if I get up like this and then I want to fly up, like say there's a glyph up here or something, my dragon's going to immediately lose all of its momentum, and I'm going to start falling back down. Right? So we kind of want to avoid that. We want to get up as high as possible. So I'm going to let this vigor recharge, and then I will kind of show you the real trick to kind of making this work very easily. So once again, I'm going to flap up. I'm pointing my camera up. I'm pointing my dragon up, and I'm going to flap again. I'm almost at a 90-degree angle here, as you can see. And I'm just going to burn as much vigor as I can to get high. And you can see my vigor is recharging because I'm moving at a certain speed. That's one of the perks. So then I'm going to point down a little bit, gain that speed back, and then I'm just going to coast. And I can coast like this literally until I hit the ground, right? You'll know when you're regaining vigor, not only because this will be going up, but you'll see this kind of blue trailing off of your dragon. If you see the blue, that means that you're doing it right, you're gaining speed. And what I can do at any point, like let's say, oh no, I'm going to hit the ground probably like right here, but I need to be up here. Well, what I can do is I can point my dragon back up and then just flap some more. I'm not rushing forward. I'm literally pressing the space bar to flap up. And I can get up as high as I need, and as I'm going, because I'm not losing speed, because again, the game kind of calculates that weirdly, I'm still gaining vigor. So I can do this literally pretty much to the top of the world. Because I'm always going to be regaining enough vigor to keep going, right? And I mean, as you can see, I'm so far up there now. I literally just hit the roof of the world. That's why I lost all momentum immediately. That's what happens when you get to the top. But yeah, now I can just kind of cruise and coast as much as I want. If I ever need to go back up, I just point the camera back up, point my dragon back up, and go, like I said, almost a 90-degree angle, right? Like I'm even going a little backwards there. It doesn't matter, because as long as you have enough space to kind of flap down, you'll have the ability to regain all of your momentum. Once you have momentum, if you're trying to get somewhere very quickly, like let's say, a rare is right here and I want to get there really fast, then I can start using surge forward, right? Then I can start saying, well, I'm high enough now that I'm not going to immediately fall out of the air. I can start burning vigor for speed. But once I start kind of going down, if I need to go back up, then I just stop surging forward for a second, gain back one more vigor, flap back up, and then go back at it. So it's a very simple system once you kind of get the hang of it. Just again, it might seem more complicated than it looks, but it really is just, kind of point your dragon towards the sky and flap up until you're at a height that you're comfortable with. Like, I don't even need to be this high to get to where I'm trying to go, right? So I can drop back down. And again, like, let's say I want to get way up to the top of that mountain, right? I'm going to let my vigor recharge for a second. I like to start with at least 3, because that's going to get me enough height. But you can do this with 2. It's just a little more complicated. You have to kind of wiggle a little bit more. And I really want to stress that a lot of this is just about mouse and camera control. It's a lot about just pointing your dragon in the right directions. So again, I'm going to point up towards the sky. I'm going to flap up. I'm going to flap up twice. As I'm flapping up, I'm gaining more vigor because of the momentum. And so now I'm high enough up, literally from the ground to the top of the statue, and this is like the highest place in Onaran Plains. And there's that dragon glyph I was talking about up here. So I already have it, so it's grayed out, but yeah. Easy peasy, just like that. And again, I just want to go over it one more time. Point the dragon towards the sky, flap up until your wings are blue. If your wings aren't blue, just kind of point down towards the ground until they are, and then go right back up. And you can do that literally as often as you need. Now, the third dragon riding ability that I was talking about, the Whirling Surge, if you don't have all of these, it means you haven't gone through the entire storyline. Make sure that you do the entire storyline, all the way up to like finishing the stuff in Valdrakken with Nozdormu. That will get you all of your abilities. But like, hold on, I want to do this in the right spot. All right, so let's say I just got an ore right here, and I want to very quickly get to my next ore, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump, and then I'm going to use Whirling Surge to surge forward. And you can see that automatically gets me up to speed where I'm gaining vigor back. And again, that's literally all it is regenerating your vigor by increasing your speed. And you don't have to be going straight down or even at a slight curve to do that. I mean, as you can see, I'm going straight up. And I got a pretty good ways up before I stopped regenerating vigor. And then I just have to cruise at like a slight downward angle, right? It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be, you know, this or even this, right? Just a slightly downward angle. And I'm regenerating vigor. And if that downward angle takes me to a point where it's like, okay, I need to get higher up, then I just point back up towards the sky and I flap up a couple times. And it's just that easy. As far as the dragon races go, the dragon races can be a little bit more complicated, but it really is just, you know, learning your camera control, learning to sort of, okay, thank you, Captain Drine. Just sort of understanding camera control and movement, and again, sort of how to control the momentum of the dragon races. They are a ton of fun once you kind of master them, but they can get kind of off the rails, especially for new players. If you're struggling with dragon riding in terms of motion sickness, or you're just having a hard time seeing what's going on, then there is the option. If you go into your search options, I believe it's in general accessibility. Yeah, motion sickness. You can use any one of these settings to reduce your motion sickness. Dragon riding has its own separate motion sickness thing, which can help a lot. You can even turn off the speed effects, so like, you know, if this like wind effect is bothering you, you can turn that off. And now it's just showing the stuff regenerating. If I wanted to like landscape darken, put a focal circle, all that stuff will help a lot with the dragon riding if you're struggling with something like motion sickness, or just having a hard time seeing what you're doing. It can be a little tough. Also, like, zoom out your camera a little bit. It will do a ton for you. And I mean, again, just gaining altitude at, I would say, like an 85-degree angle. I'm not a math magician. And then, you know, diving, swooping, whatever you need to do to just maintain your speed. And if you start to lose altitude and need to regain altitude, then just flap back up. It's just that simple. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm normally pretty active, so I will get to them as I see them. But that is dragon riding in a nutshell. Hopefully, if you can improve your experience with that, then it will make this expansion a little bit more fun for you, and you can really start to enjoy it, because it is, in my opinion at least, one of the better expansions that they've put out in a long time. Thanks for watching, and good luck.